also raise issues, and particularly the private sector. They are willing, they are ready to offer their facilities for use. In fact, when the government started the implementation of the free senior high school, they were compelled, the private sector was compelled to lay off about 10,000 workers. You know, it's compounding the unemployment situation.
Right.
And so I think that government should sit with other stakeholders to discuss this matter before implementation.
I see. In case you just joined us, I have a very prominent son of this land, the second deputy Speaker of Parliament, Mr. ALBAN Kingsford Sumana Bagbin, who's a member of Parliament for the Nabilo Kaleo constituency in the Upper West region. He's been there for many years. He's a very, very experienced, very knowledgeable man. He's also a private legal practitioner. That's for persons who perhaps may not know. He's actually taking time off his very busy schedule to join us in the studio for us to have a conversation about himself and for that matter, the country Ghana. He's somebody who's very passionate about this country and wants to see this country go forward. But he also has concerns about the way we do our politics, you know, the monetization, persons who, you know, if you don't have money, if you're not rich in this country, it's very difficult to rise through the ladder politically. And when you get there, to the persons who would help you to get there would have to call the shots. It makes a lot of sense because nobody's a Father Christmas. He's got very serious concerns about that. And also how we end up always, the architecture of our politics most often, more often than not, produces substandard people. Also because of the things we look out for as electorates in giving people power. We really don't look at competence. A lot of people look at how somebody looks, whether how long somebody's been there, all kinds of you know, very pedestrian things that we look out for in deciding who should lead us. People, perhaps that accounts for why we are where we are today. So we'll look at leadership, we'll look at governance, things that he's very, very passionate about. So if you have any questions for him, please feel free to send us a text or a WhatsApp message to 0500,202. This is the Executive Breakfast Show on Class 91.3 FM, and my name is Moro Adu. Now, Honorable, you've spoken about this free SHS. You've raised all the legitimate and valid concerns that you have about the free SHS. I want us to look at the way forward. There are different schools of thought. Some say the double tracking thing is the way to go. Some say it is not. Some say, okay, let's allow persons who have the ability to pay. Those who can't pay for them. Then that's one, two. The question arises, how do I determine who cannot pay? Because there are some people whose incomes you can't track. They may be rich but can pretend they are not. And there are people who are poor, but sometimes you can't even tell that they are poor, perhaps by dint of some things that they may have inherited or where they live. I mean, the issue being that there may be challenges in identifying who must benefit from free SHS. Some have been saying that those who are benefiting from LEAP alone should be benefiting from free SHS. So there have been different how do you call it, propositions or recommendations that have come to the table. Indeed, not too long ago, the finance minister was on another platform saying that, look, maybe this is the time for us to start that conversation about who really should be benefiting from free SHS. When you heard that, I don't know what your immediate reaction was. First of all, what do you think the way forward is? And when you heard that coming from a key person such as the finance minister, he sits in cabinet. We know his relationship with the president. And yet you had a situation where the deputy education minister comes to say that, well, this is something, it's his personal opinion as a parent. This is not a government decision, it's not a cabinet decision. What do you think is happening in the government? Do you think that there are some persons in the government who feel that perhaps this thing was rushed but cannot come out to say it for obvious reasons? What do you make of what's happening? Hearing from the finance minister, and what generally you think should be the way forward before we move to other issues of governance?
Well, all what I can say is the differences between partisan politics and true governance. Just because at the time of campaigning, they wanted votes, and so some sweet promises were made. But in entering government, you meet the realities, what is in the kitchen. But some are still pushed by the politics to want to implement things that they promise, irrespective of the cost to the nation. And the Minister for Finance is the Sanahene. He knows what is in the kitty. And he knows the pressure that is on him. He knows how he's suffering to be able to rope in the resources to sustain the free senior high school policy. And so, in fact, it just came out of him. You know, that is him. That look, this thing, it's not possible we can sustain it if we go that way. Why not just let us look at those who can't pay, and then allow those who could pay to pay. To start with, why rush the policy? All this could have been done before the implementation of the policy. Apart from that, all that should have been provided for in terms of not just infrastructure, but the teaching staff, the management structures should all have been put in place before we go to the full implementation of that policy. And that has not been done. And so the Minister of Finance is just being realistic. He's being candid. And I think that my friends in his government should take that as an advice and maybe relook at the policy. Because, you see, when you want to break down a society, that is where you start, their educational system. And you know the policy that the Europeans, particularly UK, adopted towards Africa. Yeah. And that was one of it. You see, let's break down their archaic and antiquated educational system, their culture and traditions, and let them believe that ours is the best. And then they will now become an enslaved people. So the first thing is to break down the educational system. And so what government is doing is a very serious matter that every Ghanaian, every concerned parent should stand up and talk. It is not right. Yes, you could start by using the LEAP. Yes, you could also start by asking for volunteers, like he himself has stated. He doesn't see why he can just drive a child to school, Achimota or Odogono, and then go back home and say government should pay for everything. I mean, even your conscience will not be free. And so we have some people who are ready and willing to pay. Why not allow them to do so? The spirit, actually, of the provisions in the Constitution, and you know the vision of our country. The vision of our country is to establish a free and just society. Free and just society. And so, if you have people who have already, and there are some who have not, and you are deciding now to share equally, will you be creating such a free and just society? No. Because you are adding more to those who have. And so it's not fair. It's not a system that we should be talking about. So when they talk about free, they are talking about those that cannot afford. Make those services available to them too, by the state taking up the bill for and on behalf of the poor people. But that meant that the state will have to look for the resources. And these resources will have to come from the same citizens. Well, the state doesn't do business anyway. You know, the state is just there to offer services to the good people of Ghana. And so, yes, you may get more taxation, or some sectors of the economy will have to suffer. You see, you have to rob Peter to pay Paul. And that, I think, that's not what we want to see in our society.
That's interesting. It doesn't look like that conversation will yield anything, because if you have been following the news, a family member of the president, Gabriel Sarah, actually posted something on Facebook.
Yes.
And he says MPP was elected on a platform of free SHS for all. And that is what it is and will be finished. So I think that perhaps it's going to end the matter.
You know, well, right. It's very difficult to accept that. I don't believe that they won the election just because of the
HSS.
promise of free HSS. No,
Okay.
no, I
So
don't
they
believe
should,
that.
so your point is that they should rethink it.
Yes.
Let's move on to some other issue. But in case you just joined us, I would have to remind you again that this is a personality interview for today on the Executive Breakfast Show Wednesday. They call it the EBS Focus. We're doing a personality interview with a prominent son of this land, Mr. Alban Kingsford Sumana Bagbin, second deputy Speaker of Parliament of the Republic of Ghana. He's playing host to us, actually as a guest, to us. We're discussing himself in the country Ghana, a country he's very, very passionate about. Now, Honorable, I want us to move to another matter, which has to do with the Right Information Bill. It didn't get to be passed again. What happened? Just briefly, your thoughts on this, and then we can move to Electoral Commission.
Well, we're working on it. You know the dynamics in that sector of our society, the media. When we started this in 1999, I must say, I was part of the committee where 3 MPs that were called to the Institute of Economic Affairs to start work on this. And that time it was referred to as Freedom of Information Bill. We decided as a country to do more consultation, not just roundtable conversation, but to do more consultation, particularly of practitioners. So it took some time before a draft bill came. And when the draft bill came to Parliament, I think in 2003, it looks like the state wanted to have a hold on the media. And so there were a lot of provisions that were talking about putting the media under a minister, you know. That definitely, there were a lot of objections. It went back and it came back to Parliament around 2010, thereabouts.
Sure.
We took it up again, and at that time, the whole continent was also looking at that issue. And so they finally came out with a draft guide bill for the continent. A number of countries have decided to take aspects of that bill and they've passed it, but it's not comprehensive enough. And so when the last bill came, I came back to be the chairman for the second time of the Committee on Constitutional, Legal and Parliamentary Affairs. The first time was from 1997 to 2000. And so in 2013, I was called upon to chair it again. We took it up, and then, in fact, we virtually rewrote the bill and proposed a 51-page amendment. We thought this would have been too laborious, going through consideration in Parliament. That's a very technical area where almost every word of the bill is looked at, you know, with really academic, sometimes semantics come in and all those things. And so we referred it back to the AG to try to incorporate the amendments we proposed. In fact, we took it out of the control of government and decided that we should put in place a commission, okay, an independent media commission to rather oversee the implementation of the bill and the media landscape. And so that was a very different bill from what came to Parliament. The AG department is so overwhelmed with a lot of work. So they brought back the incorporated bill to Parliament getting to the end of 2016. And then politics set in. Some of my colleagues now in government, the majority side, objected to us considering the bill, and they use a lot of, you know, delay tactics to prevent us from getting it through in 2016. Now it's come back again, an improved bill. This government has also looked at it. I think they did that last year, and they have brought another improved bill to us. Again, we had to go back to the stakeholders, which we did, and the committee has presented a report, and we are working on it again. We have no excuse to give to Ghanaians for the delay. I think that in spite of all the challenges, it's still important we put that in place for the health of our democracy. It's very, very important. But the reality is that a lot of money will also have to be put into that sector to be able to put those structures that we are talking about in place. Well, we're asking that every government agency must have an information officer. In fact, an information unit led by an officer or staff, communication officer, and requests for information that are not already in the public domain should be passed through that unit. And so there will be a lot of cost to the state, but it's worth it, and I think we should do it.
Okay, that's fine. Except that the president has been made to look back because he was the one who promised during the State of the Nation address in January this year that it was going to be passed in April, and he said it categorically. But you think that
I was really shocked because, yes, you know, the president cannot direct us to pass a bill. He cannot. He has no control over Parliament. You know, we have to look at the priorities, and he knows the process in considering a bill. There are some bills that they bring in as under a certificate of agency, and we decide otherwise. Recently, they brought in a bill, integrated bauxite and aluminium industry bill. They want us to pass it as quickly as possible. We are working on it. Just yesterday, they brought another bill, and they said we should pass it under a certificate of agency, even though the committee agreed and recommended that to the House. The House thought otherwise. If not, we should have passed it yesterday within a matter of a day, even though it doesn't necessarily mean that we should always do that when it is under a certificate of agency.
Okay,
it only means that it should not be gazetted, and the 14 days should not pass before it comes back to Parliament. But we're working on it, and I pray that we pass it this time around.
Okay, that's interesting. Yesterday something can happen in Parliament where the majority leader was granting the, in fact, he said it on the floor of Parliament, I believe, about absenteeism in Parliament. What told some of your colleagues, when I say colleagues, MPs, are not taking the business of the House seriously. Some of them turn up as and when they want. Point is that the degree of absenteeism, it's really something that leadership of the House is very much concerned. And one of the things that Honorable Chairman Sabonsu is suggesting that when you absent yourself, as per what is, first of all, what does the forget the name of the law that regulates your activities in the House? The standing orders. What does it say about absenteeism? Because the majority is saying something very interesting, that if you absent yourself beyond a certain number of days, you must not even be allowed to contest or to come back to the chamber as MP the next time round. I don't know how feasible this is. First of all, educate us what the standing
well,
order
it's in the Constitution. It's in the Constitution, right, and also in our standing orders. Right. You should not absent yourself continuously for 15 days without reasonable excuse. You understand? Without reasonable excuse. The problem we have in Ghana is that people don't even understand who an MP is. Neither do they understand the work of an MP. Again, the kind of support systems that are to let the MP deliver are also not available. You know, the MP is seen almost like the PNDC days cadres, you know. But the MP in Ghana is seen as an individual. MP is not an individual. MP is an office. And therefore, in mature systems, you have the MP having two offices, one at where the institution of Parliament is headquartered, and the other at the constituency. At both these places, the state provides some basic staff to support the work of the MP. Whilst you are in Parliament, your staff in your constituency will do the groundwork and report to you as to what is happening, prepare whatever for you, and then when you go back, you deliver. If there is a need for any urgent assignment, they could represent you, not the MP running back to attend to that assignment and then flying back to the Parliament. As I speak now, a number of MPs have left Parliament to attend funerals all over the country. You know, if you are not seen there, there's a problem. As I speak now, there are a number of MPs attending seminars, workshops, not organized by Parliament, but organized by civil society, and the members of Parliament are invited and they must be there. As I speak to you now, there are a number of MPs at various embassies, okay, at various government departments, either lobbying for assistance, you know, to go to develop their constituencies, or trying to put across concerns of their constituents to those agencies. Again, in Parliament itself, Parliament is as good as its committees. Almost everything that comes to Parliament, and they come in doses, really, heavy work every day, you are referred to committees. So you see the members are always at the committee level. And so when we talk about absenteeism, I'm sure they are talking about presence on the floor,
right,
not absent from parliamentary work.
Okay.
You understand?
Because you could be doing parliamentary work outside of the chamber.
Outside of the chamber. In fact, all this I just mentioned are outside of the chamber. It's just the few that you see on the floor, right, inside the chamber, debating, that is of concern. And it's all over the world. If the leader is aware of any MP absenting he or himself from parliamentary work without reasonable excuse, the leader is permitted to take action.
Okay.
You know, but you cannot, because they will always come and give you reasonable excuses. And some even will have applied through the leadership to the speaker for leave, okay, of absence.
Right.
That provision too is there. In fact, this provision came during the time of the First Republic, okay, where after the Kulungugu bomb attempt, some members of Parliament who were alleged to have been involved absconded to Cote d'Ivoire, and they were absent for many months, yet they were being paid. That's the genesis of this provision. Right. And in those days, it was said to be 20 days. Okay. Now it's been reduced to 15 days. But that is without reasonable excuse. Okay. And so it's very difficult implementing the provision. It's just important that we work on the Parliament. Very, very important if we want Parliament to really deliver. Because the parliamentarians are not less or lower than ministers of state. People must understand that the people they go to vote for are, one, the president, and two, the member of Parliament. The others are appointees. Appointees of the president, sometimes with the prior approval of Parliament, or just by the president alone because he is the head of the public service. Okay. And so if you want your democracy to work, there are two personalities that you have given your power and authority to, the president and the MP. And they must be the focus of this whole process or concept. Right. And so I want to urge the country to really look and rethink this matter. Because what we're doing now is really a sham. We see it running like a military regime where all the power, all the resources are given to the president. And the president decides on what to do. If you are lucky to have a benevolent president, he becomes a benevolent dictator. If not, you have an autocratic president and he orders and everybody obeys. And that should not be the case.
It's too top heavy. Let me again pick your mind on some other issues. We're still on governance issues, and we'll do these things briefly because there's several other questions I need to ask before you leave to the State House, where you need to go and bid your very good friend, the Vice President farewell, so we'll keep the conversation more brief. Now, the appointment of Jean Mensah, the IEA boss, as the Electoral Commission boss, in itself is, you know, as you do know, is creating some uneasy calm in the camp of the NDC and some other civil society organizations. What's your position on Jean Mensah? Good decision, first of all, the ousting of, I won't say ousting, but the dismissal of Charlotte and the coming in of Jean Mensah. If you can just put this in context briefly, and then we can move to why you want to become president.
Well, for the ousting of our very good lady, Charlotte Osei, the matter is before the court as to the legality of that act of the president. But I spoke on Radio Gold on this issue, that I thought that the lady also erred as a leader when the petition against her led her to also tend to start attacking her deputies. And throughout, that kind of infighting did not create a very conducive managerial environment for the commission to move on. And so the removal of the three of them on that basis alone would have been justified. But as to the legalities, that one the court will determine that. And at the Radio Gold, I did mention that we're now looking at the president to see how the president will put the process in place to appoint a successor. Unfortunately, that was not done. The chairperson of the Electoral Commission, together with the deputies and the staff, are going to be referees of a match. And so, if the president is to appoint, there are stakeholders. And these stakeholders need to be consulted.
It has never been part of our culture.
And it's always part of our culture. It's just this inherited system that is what is creating the problem. Traditionally, you know that we rather administer the ADR, Alternative Dispute Resolution.
Maybe political culture, I should say.
We have political culture in this country. Right. It's never been.
Right.
But that has been bad politics. That is bad governance. And so we need to move away from that.
Okay.
And particularly His Excellency that has been in politics for over 40 years. What he should have done, even if it is Jean Mensah, was to have proposed that to the other players, the stakeholders in the sector, just listen to them, get their inputs before taking the decision. She is a fine lady, and as I said, she is one of the fine ladies, once again, that we are sending to the gallows of politics. You know, there is no way she can win in this matter, because we have worked with her for many years, and we know that she is more of an MPP than an independent-minded civil society player. The NDC had on a number of occasions to boycott activities of the Institute of Economic Affairs because of this perception. You understand? And so if you are minded to bring such a person, you need to do more consultation. And this has not been done. And once again, this fine lady is also going to meet the wrath of politicians. It's not fair. I don't even think that because the outgone was a lady, the incoming must also be a lady.
That is a gender champion.
That theft is too rough. That theft.
For a lady?
Yes. Yes, our ladies are doing well. They are tough, I agree, but I don't think that we should be risking them that much. We want to have many more ladies being encouraged to enter politics. But when they see some of their role models that are destroyed like that because they've been given such a risky job, they are discouraged from getting into politics.
Would you advise if Jean came to you to ask whether she should accept this position? What would you tell her?
If you ask Mrs. Charlotte Osei, she will tell you that I advise her not to accept that position.
You told Charlotte Osei not to accept the position?
Ask her.
And what was your basis? Same? That it's a rough terrain.
Yeah, I've been in the game and I know it. And I told her that if she had another option, like going to the Supreme Court, she should rather accept that. You know, but she told me candidly that for her, she's available to serve the nation in any capacity.
Wow.
And she got there. And these are the results. It's the same advice I will give to Jane Adukwe Mensah, Mrs. The same advice. If she also decides to risk it, so be it, you know. But with regard to my ambition, it's as clear as daylight. There is no turning back. I am going to contest. Whoever is going to contest me, that's the person's problem. But I'm going all out. And I am saying, I don't lose elections. You understand? Since I went into Parliament in 1992, I've been winning. And I've won 7 times. I know what the train is. I know the business very well. Whoever is coming should prepare well.
Nothing is going to stop you from becoming the flag bearer of your party.
Well, I'm doing this in the interest of everybody, the country and my party. Okay, I'm not doing that for personal glorification. And so if there's good reason that I shouldn't do it, I will not risk and say that I must. That will be like being selfish. That's self-interest. I'm not for self-interest. But I've seen that in the midst of plenty, we are poor. I have seen that since 1992, I'm not too sure my party, the NDC, have fared well. I can see that the members from 1992 are getting poorer and poorer, and the party is getting weaker and weaker. I think there are a few things that one could do to turn things around and improve the lot of the party members and the party itself.
What is it that you can do that you couldn't do as health minister, as minister for works and housing, as majority leader? What is it that in that capacity that you held, you have not been able to do that you think you can do if you become president?
Within the remit that I was given as a minister, you could ask the party what I did to support the party, what I did for this country. Within the remit, as a Minister of Water Resources, Works and Housing, under His Excellency the late President Mills, we met urban water at about 57% coverage. By the time I left the ministry, in 2 years, it was up to about 76% coverage. Yes, the records are there.
It is also true that you signed a contract with a company that produced or brought us ambulances that are not fit for purpose.
It's not true.
It is not true?
It's not true.
The ambulances are not fit for purpose?
They are fit for purpose.
The National Agreement says the government intends to use these buses for commercial purposes.
That is sad. That is sad. These are Benz buses that were organized from the Benz company. The only problem why government should not do it direct was that government did not have the money to pay for them. And so a company from Dubai had the wherewithal to pay for government and then to receive part payment, and the payment was staggered. The agreement assigned was drafted, finalized by the Ministry of Justice. There's nothing wrong with that agreement. I wasn't given the opportunity to implement it because I was moved to another place. It is during the course of the implementation that there were some delays, some time lapse, some lack of inspection, you know, because a technical team was to leave Ghana, go and inspect the ambulances to make sure they were within the specifications, and that the gadgets, ambulances, they are not just vehicles, it's the equipment inside, and all the details are there in the agreement that are signed. But the team did not go to inspect, and so the company decided to bring in the ambulances and to ship the equipment and machines to fit them in Ghana under the supervision of the technical team. The ambulances came first, the equipment came later, November 2016. As of today, they are still at the port in Tema. The ambulances were parked at the forecourt of the State House. After the elections, they were moved away. It was not only the ambulances. There were buses. There were a lot of cars parked there. The previous regime had brought them in. The NDP moved them away. The government moved them away to places we don't know. They delayed for over a year. What would be the state of those buses? Now you are playing politics of it, and you want to sacrifice me for 26 years of service to my nation? God is there. Let's go on. I have submitted a written statement in this matter.
To the IOCO?
Yes. And I've given them details and documents to support. There was nothing that I did wrong. It was a policy of government to make sure that every metropolis had not less than 5 ambulances available for use. That is why we established the ambulance service, National Ambulance Service.
Under the leadership of Zakaria?
Yes, and the training institute. We're using the Fire Service Training Institute. Every year, the paramedics were trained and the drivers for that. It's there. Every municipality was to get no less than 3 ambulances, and every district no less than 2 ambulances. And so we started the implementation. We distributed 161 new ambulances. They were VW ambulances. And we had submissions for Benz and then also Fiat. The Benz were 200, and that was the agreement that I worked on, which was finalized by the Ministry of Justice and Attorney General before I signed. I signed as the representative of government, which is usually done is the Minister for Health that signs, and witnessed by my Chief Director. It was not a political decision. No, it was a national decision.
So 161 ambulances
were distributed.
Not the one that you imported?
The government imported.
Yeah, the ones you imported, how many were there?
200.
200. And
yes.
The ones that you distributed?
Were 161.
Okay.
Okay?
Okay.
Then we ordered the 200.
Okay.
And then there was a process to order 400 more.
Oh, I see.
400 more.
All
and
those were in the works?
Yes, they are there. you could contact the director. The same Dr. Zakaria is still the director of the National Ambulance Service. They are there. And so the politics they are playing with this issue is sad. One of the problems of this country is bad politics, bad governance. That is why we are not moving forward. I'm prepared everywhere to provide every document on this matter. You know, people just attack us unjustifiably.
You want to become president of this country, but you also do know that money plays a very big role in the kind of politics we do. We have monetized politics. In fact, not too long ago, we had a conversation right here in this studio about the cost of doing politics. And the verdict out there is, that you know, it's pretty obvious to you that it's always for the highest bidder. Are you ready financially?
It's sad
to embark on this journey?
It's sad, really. And one of the reasons why corruption is very difficult to contain in this country is because of the way we do politics. And therefore, I have in place some policy guidelines to make sure that we reduce the cost of our politics, to make sure that our politicians are not in the pockets of money bags, you know, rich people, and that when we come out, we are able to rather represent the people and serve the people, not those who sponsored us. I know that. But you see, all over the years, I've gathered a lot of capital, and I'm worth more than money.
So you are resourceful?
I say I'm worth more than money. There are a lot more Ghanaians who are prepared to work for me without money.
That's what I meant by, okay, yes. I get it.
Yeah, resources, maybe able to gather, mobilize resources.
That's
I can be resourceful.
Both human and capital. So
yes.
That's what I was going to say. That's why you're resourceful.
Yes.
You have the right people to work with you.
I have no cash in my pocket. But as I said, my value is more than money.
Is the former president backing you on this? You seem to be close to the former president Rawlings. He has a lot of issues. He says the poverty and accountability, social justice, it's been thrown outside of the window as far as it's concerned. The party which you belong has not embraced it. So he seems to have problems with almost everybody in the party, especially at the leadership level. What's your position? Because as you embark on this journey, you may need his blessing. I'm sure you may want to go to him and tell him that you're interested. I don't know, but you may have done that already.
I've gone around the elders.
Good.
But it's not just him.
What is former President Rawlings' issue? Because there are some who think that it doesn't matter who wants to stand. If the former president doesn't support it, the party may have issues. Having interacted with the former President Jerry Rawlings, what exactly is his challenge? Is he ready to support you?
Whether people like it or not, as of today, as a single individual, the former president is more popular than any other Ghanaian.
Rawlings?
Yes. More popular than any other Ghanaian.
Isn't that debatable?
Well, what issue is not debatable? Every issue is debatable. You know, even there is a debate between Nkrumah and JB Dankwa, where we all know that as a man of the generation in Africa, anywhere you go, people know Nkrumah. Even Togo here, if you say JB Dankwa, nobody knows who is JB Dankwa. But as an academic, JB Dankwa towers far ahead of Dr. Kwame Nkrumah. You understand? So we have those debates. But the most popular person in this country now is Jerry John Rawlings. Now, I will not have the details why he's in this state and why he raises some of these issues. But I can guess some of them. Didn't it interest you that Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, His Excellency, was going around the country now pounding fufu with the ordinary people and eating? Yes. And then NDC were rather flying in helicopters. Didn't it interest you? You know, they've been a reversal of the culture of philosophy of life. And he will be worried. He will be worried. You know, imagine the number of land cruisers that we're using. I mean, that's one of the areas that I feel so bad about. Because I believe
John Rawlings had issues with that as well. The number of land.
No. I say I don't know. I don't know. But I'm looking at it as a person, not Jerry John Rawlings.
Right.
You know, and you know what he did when it came to the issue of corruption. Nobody says he's an angel. No, not at all. But one must be seen manifestly to be fighting corruption, not to be indulging in corrupt conduct. And some of these things worry him. I go to him when there's an issue and I have to discuss with him. And after that, I move away. People think that I'm in bed with Jerry John Rawlings. No. I have the courage, I have the willpower to say it as it is, and I do the same when I'm before him.
Really?
He loves it. If he says something and it's not right, I get to him, I tell him, Your Excellency, for this thing, I disagree with you. This is how I see it. He can tell me that this is how he also sees it. Okay? I don't go attacking my father. I will never do that on air. I go to the same elders. It's not only him. I go to other elders.
Are you also concerned about his all of a sudden, call it politically romantic relationship with Nana Addo?
It's surprising, really, particularly as to the way MPP treated him when they were in power. You know, it's surprising. You see, and particularly our mother, Nana Konadu Ajiman Rawlings, who they slapped as many as 37 charges against, and we had to fight for her. You know, but politics is a different ball game. Maybe is that they've gone beyond the domestic politics and want to act as statespersons, and so they say it and they see it as it is, and that they are looking at the national interest than the interest of a political party. Maybe that should be. And I believe that if the MPP, like they've started doing now, okay, the MPP has lost the 2020 election. It should be clear to all of them. irrespective of the strategies they are putting in place, Ghanaians are wide awake. My brother, I'm telling you, Ghanaians are wide awake. They're really going to be 4 years president. I'm telling you, it's very clear.
Just a quick one before you move to why you think that they will lose the 2020 elections. Now, about the ambulance matter. Not too long ago, sorry, it is important that I ask this matter. Not too long ago, we interacted with the ambulance service people, and one of the things they said was that apparently in the something so that is it a I don't know what act actually stipulates how the National Ambulance Service is regulated, but apparently there's actually a bill in which a certain percentage of the insurance that we all pay, 1% or so, is supposed to be used, earmarked to run or to manage the National Ambulance Service. Are you aware of this bill when you were health minister?
Yeah, I'm aware of it.
What happened to that bill? I'm told it's been around for many years, and yet nothing has happened to it.
Well, it's an issue of acceptability. It was a proposal in order to be able to sustain the service. You know, if you are running a national health insurance scheme, and then you are offering free service to the people, and then people have got to pay for the ambulance service, then that would be countering the policy of giving free medical care to the people. And so that proposal was to make sure that we have enough resources to offer the free ambulance services to the people.
Okay.
Because one of the causes of the death of many people in Ghana are the 3 Ds: delay in taking the decision, distance to the health facilities, and delay in attending to patients. And so you need to be able to raise the necessary resources to pay for this cost. And so that proposal was done, but it's not yet implemented. And I think that is one of the causes of why the 161 have now been reduced to, I'm told, 37.
What has caused the delay in passing this bill? Because of, look at how...
No, it's not yet before Parliament.
It's not yet before Parliament.
It's something that is being considered
at the executive
level.
Would you support it?
Definitely, why not? You know, they have creative and ingenious ways of raising these funds. In fact, this is one of the things that this government has just done recently by converting the 2.5% VAT that was meant for GET funds to education trust levy. And the levy will bring in more money than the VAT. And so there are creative ways of doing some of these things, and I think that we should do it. But I believe in the principle of polluter pays. And I think that we should be careful of how we live as human beings. So if you know that alcohol is injurious to your life, if you know that accident kills even more than AIDS in this country, we should have a way of charging people who are reckless and negligent in the conduct of these things. And so if you go drinking alcohol and you know that it's going to cause some illnesses in you, and government will have to pay, because whatever we bring in, it costs the nation. You should contribute towards that cost. I believe in it. We must get people to live a responsible life. If you know smoking will cause cancer and the rest, and you indulge in smoking, you must be made to pay. Because when you are sick, we will be compelled to treat you in the hospital.
So those are some of the areas the government can
look at. To raise more money
for
the National Health Insurance System.
That's fine, Honorable. We want to run an advocacy on this bill to get an executive because of how beneficial it will be to us. We're going to be running an advocacy on it now. We'll please need you to endorse it and say that, look, if this thing comes to Parliament, you will personally help to push it for this bill to pass, because it's one source of revenue which we need to take seriously. I'm asking it, Honorable, if I can.
Oh, the 1% insurance?
Yeah, the 1% insurance.
Oh, for sure. My brother, I can give you all my heart and my everything, that I will support it, and I will make sure that it's implemented. Not just passed, implemented, because it's a good policy.
Good. In your bid to become president, that's my penultimate question to you before we celebrate Amy Sata, before you leave us, and so rest in peace. Just penultimate. How are you going to cross this hurdle, this perception that's been created out there? Courtesy Daily Guide, as far back as in 2004, they had published that you had married you had an affair with your sister-in-law. I know you have sort of denied it in the past, but you're now on my platform. You and I go way back. I'm fortunate to have you back today at Class FM. Would you like to explain to us what this whole story is about you having an affair with your sister-in-law? At some point, you rented an apartment for her. Very, very worrying story. It would come up as you're seeking the mandates of the people to lead the party. Would you want to use this platform?
It's been coming up. It's been coming up. Yes, it's been coming up. I am from a paternal system. I'm not from a maternal system. In the paternal system, the man's family is where the children belong. What happened in our case was that, you know, when you marry and there's a delay in procreation, when there's a delay in procreation, it's a concern, not to you only the couples, but to your families. Okay? And because of our system, there was a proposal that, you know, the suspicion is always on the lady, not the gentleman. It's unfortunate because it could be also from the gentleman. True. But the society is unfair towards our ladies. And so there was a proposal that since they were sisters, I could marry the sister to be able to solve that problem. Okay? But it did not happen. I didn't marry the sister, but the sister was living with us as a house help for many, many, many years, from her childhood. In fact, she grew under our hands. And so when this story broke up, I said, yes, she grew up under our hands. She was with us. There was that proposal, but it didn't work out. And so let me emphasize, I never married my sister-in-law. I haven't got a child by my sister-in-law. No. I have children, but not by my sister-in-law. But in 2004, don't forget, we're getting into election. Opponents were too worried about my long stay in Parliament. And so they decided to employ any other means to get me off. And so that story came from one of my opponents from the constituency. Right. You understand? And the Daily Guide picked it up. And that was what happened. But are you not surprised that I received massive votes from the constituency?
It means it didn't work.
Yes, it didn't work. It didn't work. To start with, that is a system over there, not only among the Dagatis, among many of the paternal societies. Again, the constituents are aware that is not true.
Right.
And so they supported me massively and voted. My wife is available, the sister-in-law is available, and people can cross-check from that.
Okay.
Yes. That thing led to a problem in the family.
Okay.
And therefore, I had to send my sister-in-law out. Okay. And that is where the renting of a place for her came in.
How's your relationship like with the former president, John Dramani Mahama?
Well, we meet at functions. We, as usual, are cordial. We greet each other very well. I have nothing against him apart from his leadership style and quality. You know, I've been one of those who've anchored him, like he did for me when I was minority leader. Right. And so the impression that is being created, like we are at each other's throat, or that I hate him, I rather love Ghana more than I love him. And therefore I'm interested in the quality of leadership. And so I raise some of these issues to let us improve the system of governance. Not that I have anything against him.
That's fine. That's fine. That's fine. Leadership style. We don't have all the time to look into that. But somebody said I should just ask you quickly before you go. Should government run football, or football people themselves should be cleaning their mess up and run the game after the next expose? Should the GFA have been allowed to do their own in-house cleaning? At the moment, that's not happening. The government has interfered.
What is happening in this whole exercise? The joint venture. Who provides the facilities for the footballers? Is it not government?
It is.
It is government. Okay? And the training and other things are also supported by government. And so government has an interest. When it comes to management and the performance of their professional duties, then we should not have interference by government. But government should show concern. And government should contribute to make sure that we have the best. Sports now is a money-making venture. It's no longer just an exercise. It's not like a game for fun, you know. It's big money. And so I believe there are a number of things that we could do to improve upon it. But we haven't had the opportunity to contribute to those debates. And so I think government has done nothing wrong by doing what it did. I still expect that the people in the sector should come and cooperate more with government, and that we should take it down to the basic schools. I want to see the team called Academic House. Academic House, yes. They used to play very well. And there was a team made up of the elite in schools.
You mean the academies?
Academic House.
Academic House, okay.
Yeah, that was a team.
Right.
It was very, very good. We need to encourage it. Because it's good for our health. You know, sports is good for our health. It's good for everything. And so we should not just leave it to private sector. No. It's part of government business.
1 minute. His Excellency Pakwese is at the late before you take the moment.
Oh, it was sad, really. It's sad. It was shocking to all of us, and I don't know where we can get somebody like Pakwese Misata again. The way he carried himself in politics, his discourse, his wisdom is lost and gone forever. And it's sad for NDC and for the nation. Whatever people said of him, whatever attacks were made against him, he was able to keep his cool, his calm, and he sparingly spoke. But when he spoke, it was nothing but wisdom. And I worked closely with him in our political committee, which is shared, you know, and we benefited a lot from his knowledge and counsel. And it's a great loss to all of us.
Thank you so very much, Honorable. It's always a pleasure talking to you. Also, a man of wisdom, and it's always a rare privilege to have in the studio to share your opinion on matters that bother on governance and how we can move this country called Ghana forward. Thank you so very much, sir.
I'm very grateful.
We wish you well. We wish you well.
I'll be back again.
We believe you'll be. Yes, you have to be.
Yes,
in fact, this is
yes.
your second.